Hello, welcome to Sylvan Mist Designs. Currently on the screen, if you hadn't seen it before, I've got the list of all of the paint, materials, and other stuff that you might need, and some optional things that you might want to have with you today. I'm going to make sure to let this go through to make sure that everyone has a chance to see all of the items, and then we're going to get started. And again, thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I'm just going to let the options go past here. We are going to be making today an item that you can either gift or keep, multi-purpose. I do have the two glasses that we're going to be doing today. They are sourced from the Dollar Tree, so I did want to try to make this as accessible as possible. If it isn't something that you want to source from Dollar Tree or somewhere else, if you do happen to have glasses of your own, feel free to use them. Once we are done painting, I will go ahead and go over the last steps to finalize its preparation before use and its care instructions as well. So make sure to hang around for that. And if for any reason anyone is unable to stay for the whole event, this will be published immediately after to the public. So feel free to watch it later, come back to it as necessary. And then I very likely will go ahead and edit the video once it is published as well to kind of give a shorter version. Today I am planning to make this a real beginner's tutorial. So we're going to go step by step, and we're going to go relatively slow to make sure that anybody that's jumping in can follow along pretty easily. Okay, so if you are a little bit more advanced and you don't necessarily need all that instruction, in the next couple of days following, I will have it edited down to a shorter version so that you can just kind of catch that. All right. Okay, so what do we need and what are we going to be doing today? Let me start by showing you the finished glasses. Now, this one here, this is the larger. Okay. I did go ahead and just put a flower inside of it so that we could get a little bit of a better view. Okay, and I even did do the foot of the stem. Okay, we did the same pattern on a stemless as well. And the reason for this is because, again, we're going to be able to turn these either into drinking glasses or we can turn them into a centerpiece. And for a centerpiece, it really does look nice to have the two tiers. So let's get started here. All right, so here's an empty one. First things first, we do need to make sure to get this really clean. I've got just some isopropyl or rubbing alcohol on this here, on my little cotton ball, and I'm just going to take and go over the whole thing. These have been washed with soap and water as well, but after they've dried, I also wanted to do this just to make sure that any residue, maybe from fingerprints or anything, soap residue, is off of there. Okay, I'm going to do the foot as well because I'm going to be painting the foot. Okay, so we're going to get that off of there. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside. Let's do the stemless. Now, if you didn't catch it in the opening, Again, these are Dollar Tree glasses, so $1.25. These are the 20 and 25 ounce wine glasses. One of them is just listed as the stemmed wine glass, and then we have the white wine. All right, okay. That looks good, feels good. I'm gonna sit that aside for a second, and I'm gonna let that dry because we don't want to do anything with it wet. Okay, I don't necessarily need to go and wipe that off with a soft cloth or anything. I just need to let that dry. Okay, so as you can see from the initial one, I'm only gonna be using the one color of white, and then as an accent, I've just got the zinc. You could use whatever you like for an accent color, or you could just leave it white. Matter of fact, I mean, you don't even have to follow that. If you really wanted to, you could even make these colored. You know, make them match your decor if you're going to keep them, or, you know, if you're going to gift them. That might be really cool. Match the decor of the person that you are going to give these to. All right, now this is something that not everyone is going to have, and that's perfectly fine, but I will show you the glass medium. Glass medium essentially makes the paint stick, right? It gives a better adhesion to the non-porous surface of the glass, okay? It is not necessary. I do recommend it. If you don't have this and you don't want to buy it, again, don't feel pressured to do it. You can absolutely skip this step. These bottles are not exactly cheap either. I can't remember exactly how much I've paid for this, but I will tell you that if you have any plans whatsoever at all to do any glass projects, acrylic, anything non-porous, really, it's worth it. I mean, I've probably had this bottle for about 3 years and it's still about half full. Okay, so well worth the money, but absolutely not necessary. Okay, and I'm gonna add in a good dollop to my paint there. Instructions on that say initially that you can go up to 90% medium to paint. Because I actually cure, and I'll go into that later too, I actually do cure my glass projects. I don't necessarily find that I have to go 90%. Okay, I'm just gonna get this mixed up. There. All right. Check on my glass here. Looks good. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to get this settled in. Now, what I have here in front of me, I've got the Lazy Susan, but this, I actually created this just real quick for myself. This is just an old pillowcase, and it has beans in it. Something like a pinto beans or something, right? Something real cheap. Again, something dollar store you can buy. And then I just stitched the edge together real quick, and it makes a perfect landing spot for anything round. Okay, so that's not going to move. I did mention in the very, very first slide that you can use a grid if you want to. I couldn't find it, unfortunately. But what you can do is draw a grid out on paper, for example, like this, and then just cut it down. I'd probably cut it, you know, 2 or 3 rows out. And then you can take and slide it in so that you have a grid here, right? I would probably use a little bit of tape, a little painter's tape or something like that to hold it down. You don't need to, and I found that because of the way that glass kind of reflects things, it's actually easier to do it without it. But if for any reason you're uncomfortable doing it freehand, I suggest that. All right, so I have today the Happy Dotting Company tools. Okay, so these are flat-headed tools. I mention this specifically because if you are not using flat-headed tools, that's fine. Keep in mind, however, that the round-headed tools like these types, or like the clear or the acrylic rods and things, if they have a round tip, it's not going to be the same size, okay? The round tips are going to be smaller dots than the flat-headed, so you might need to adjust if you're following along and you're not using flatheads, okay? So I'm actually just going to go start with an 8. And I'm going to pick a spot somewhere in here that's kind of middle-ish, right? I might even just drop it down ever so slightly. I'll probably do something about here. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to pull you guys up just a smidge here. There. Okay. Now, that needs to be a nice heavy dot, meaning get a lot of paint on your tool when you put that down so that you don't have any ridges. Okay, then I'm going to pick up a 2 and we're going to put a set of dots around this one. Doesn't, again, matter where you start. One thing I will let you know is I've done this particular combination, the 8 center and 2 around the outside, enough to know that there are 13 dots that fit perfectly around this. Okay. For the longest time, I just started using the compass method, right? So essentially my first dot would be at north, the second dot would be at south, east and west, and then fill in between. And that works really well. Okay. For me at this point, and since you're following along, again, I've done this particular pattern quite a bit, so I know that this fits, so I'm just going to do the dots side by side. I'm not going to worry about doing it by the compass. And I do wipe my tools off after each turn here. So now I'm going to take a 4. Okay. And now we're actually going to go more with the compass. Okay. Going to get a dot over on this side. And again, the good thing about this is it does not have to be totally straight. It doesn't have to be totally centered at all. These are snowflakes that we're making, so all right. And then we're going to put one in between each of these. I noticed that 2 of my dots slid together, so I'm going to fix that. And that is why we have our handy dandy Q-tips here. All right. I do have a pinned message in chat. If anyone is stopping by and you want to see something again, you have a question, doesn't matter what the question is, just let me know. Give me a shout. Okay. Oops. This is the only part I hate, is fixing a mistake because it's so small. My poor little eyeballs. This is just a wet tip. Okay, nothing special. There. It's really hard to get that last one in without that last little line right here without removing this dot completely. All right, I think that'll work. Okay, let's go back into the 2. Let's get 2 back in here. So we should be looking roughly like this now. I'm going to pick up that 2 once more. What we're going to do now is make a couple of dots on the top of this one. We're going to form almost a little bit of a crown, or the start of a crown here. If you had used a grid underneath, that grid should be coming out between this dot. And so the 2 dots that you want to place are just on either side of the top of this dot, and that line should run right between them. Okay, so just got 2 sitting on top there. And again, this is a 2. Now I'm going to be going into the nail art tool. This nail art tool, the side that I'm going to be using is this tip, which is the more pointed tip, and it's a 0.5. Okay. Make sure the tip is clean here. I think I might have some paint on that one. All right. Now, if you're not too great or unfamiliar with swooshes, I'll kind of go through this with you. Really treat the stylus just like a pen in your hand. It's the easiest thing that I can think of. Glass is your best friend when trying to learn or practice swooshes, okay? Because things glide so easily. This is going to be the best place or best thing to learn on. The other thing that I'll mention here too at this point is that if you're just practicing this, you don't necessarily want to do it maybe permanently on a glass yet. If you're doing dollar store stuff because you pick this up, grab one of these or grab a couple of these, right? The acrylic boards, because you can take the plastic off of this and then you can practice and just wipe it away constantly over and over again. It's beautiful. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in and get a nice heavy roll of paint here. And then, like I said, treat it just like a pencil or a pen. I'm going to put a dot right next to this one, okay, right here. And I'm going to hold the tool there, okay. I am touching the glass, and then I'm going to draw around it. Okay, that one was a little bit fat because I did hold it a little long. Okay, but essentially we're going to drag that around, okay. So I'm staying in contact with the glass. And I'm just drawing, just like I would a pencil, same motion right around that dot. Now we're going to do this on both sides of that 4 dot that's here. For me, it just makes it a little easier to do one side and then the other. In turn. You don't have to though. Okay. And then if you're like me, I always use my pinky to kind of anchor. Makes things easier if your hand is not literally hovering above whatever it is you're working on. Helps to steady. Yeah. That first one, just because I held on to it too long, is a little fat, but we're not going to notice that in just a minute. Normally I'd go back in and correct that, but you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it. You'll see why after. It's not even going to be noticeable. Okay. All right, so we should be looking like this at this point. Now I'm going to pick up probably a 3. Yeah. Had my tools out of order. Actually, let's do a 4. Okay, so I'm picking up a 4. Now I'm going to make a dot on top of these 2 here. Okay, I'm just going to nestle that in. Now for the dots, again, make sure that when you're putting your dot down, if you touch the glass, it's fine. I know everybody says that's a no-no. Just hover over it, kiss, right? It's okay. If you're on glass and you have enough paint on your tool, you're going to be okay. If you don't have enough paint on your tool and you touch the glass, when you bring that back up, you're going to see these little wavy ridges. Okay, that means either A, your paint is too thick, and or B, that you don't have enough paint on your tool. Okay. If it happens and you put your tool down and you get a little wavy line there, it's fine. You can still fix it. Dip your tool again and just go right back over it. Okay. So we should be here now. Okay. If you are, hey, congratulations, you just did your first snowflake. We're done with that one. Easy as cake, right? Okay. The next one that I want to do, now, here's what I'm going to do, okay? Because we've got a round surface and I don't want to be turning this, okay? I'm going to do the next snowflake on my other glass. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and I'm going to bring this one over. Okay. All right. Give me one quick second. Gotta get my other one laid down properly. Okay, there we go. Now this has got a narrowed bottom, so it does tend to tip a little bit. Okay, so that's one of the other reasons I like using something like I am here, little bean bag or something, because then I can push that in and it's not going to go anywhere. All right. So now remember, we're going to have, at least I will, because I'm going to make this a matching set. And so I'm going to have the snowflake that we just did somewhere else on here, probably maybe here or something like that. So I'm going to make the next snowflake somewhere down here, right? Just a little bit down and not centered in the same spot. Okay. Now, we're going to make it easy. I'm going to go back into an 8 again, and we're going to do that same thing again. We're going to do an 8 center, and we're going to put 2. The next dots are going to be 2 around the center. Okay. If for any reason you struggled with the first one, if the dots didn't come out right, here's a second chance to practice on those. Okay, so we're going to do an 8 and a 2. And if any of you are following along, or if you intend to, I would absolutely love to see what you're working on. When we're done, when you have an opportunity, there are a few links in the description. One of them is to Discord. If you're on Discord or comfortable with Discord, go ahead and join Discord. Head into my server and you can share your photos there. Or I also have a Facebook group. That'll be linked as well. And again, I'd love to see what you guys do with these. Okay, all right, 8 and 2, right? So there we are. Okay. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep this simple for everybody. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna go back into that 4 and we're gonna do the same thing again, right? We're not making the same snowflake, but we're gonna start out with the same base. Okay, so 4. Like a compass, we're going to put a dot on the top and one on the bottom. Okay, north and south. We're going to go east and west. And then we'll do one in between. So again, we should be here. Now I'm going to stick with the 4 one more time. Okay, but now we're going to do a different kind of swoosh. I'm bringing my nail tool back and I'm going to be using this end, again, the same pointy end for the swooshes that we just made, but I'm going to go with the 2 tool method instead of the 1 this time. Okay. So what we're going to do to start with, okay, so let me take the 4. I'm just going to make sure it's clean. If you have a grid, this is a good point to use it. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and have another 4. And I'm going to sit it somewhere about here. Okay, so about a dot's width, right? So if you understand what I mean by that, let me clean the tip off. Okay, so I should be able to fit about another 4 in between these 2 dots. Okay, so that should fit there. If you're actually using a grid, if you've taped one on the inside of your glass, for example, or you're using an insert, then I would just go out a ring. Okay. Now, we're going to take the sharp end of the tool, and you don't have to use the same one. You can use a nice sharp whatever. Okay. And we're going to start by doing a traditional kind of swoosh here. I'm going to take the tip and we're going to pull it all the way through this dot and we're going to go down. Okay. All right, so we're just making a line. Now, if you imagine a midpoint here in this dot, I'm going to grab that midpoint along the side here and I'm just going to pull that down. Okay, I'm going to take it and I'm going to connect it with the bottom of this line. Okay. Now you might end up with a little bit of space like that, and then what we're going to do is color it in. So we're just going to take the paint from the center of the dot and we're literally just going to move it down. Okay. And we're going to do that for each of the spaces in between here. Okay, so drag this through and down. Grab one side and down, and the other side and down. Okay, just treat it just like a pencil. And then start to push some of the paint from inside down. Since it's glass, it should just glide. Now we're not perfect, and so just like this here, I didn't have a same amount of room between these two as these two. Okay, just make it fit, however. Right? Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. Yeah, I bet you can. Okay. This one looks nice and round. This one looks nice and round. And all of a sudden, this one here looks like it has feathered edges. Right? This is because there's still something on the glass. Again, I washed these really well with soap and water, let them air dry, and then I did the isopropyl alcohol. Sometimes though, these glasses that I find at the Dollar Tree, they're just this way, right? There's really nothing that I can do about it. I can go back sometimes. I can go back and take the paint off and then use the isopropyl alcohol again and try to clean it up. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just like an imperfection in the glass. Right here for me, right at this junction, I feel something rough. So when I'm running over the glass, this is all smooth, but I can feel something rough there. So I'm just taking that as there's probably a small imperfection that we really can't see in the glass, but the paint is still going to react to it. Okay, so just FYI. If you're using your own glasses or you bought something other than the Dollar Tree ones, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about and you'll never run into it. So I hope that's the case for you. So I just tried to clean that up the best I could there. And if you didn't catch that, I'm not cleaning either of my tools off as I go with this. Normally I would be wiping the paint off of my tools. But with the swooshes, yeah, don't do that. It actually makes it easier, especially when you're not on glass or a surface. Oops, and there's another rough spot right there. Ooh, I can almost hear my tool scratch that. Okay. Because these are pretty short, I don't think that you should have any issues with lines. But if you start doing these, that one's a little close. One second, I'm going to remove that one. I'm going to move it back a little. If you start doing these and when you pull the lines out for the swoosh, for the tail, I guess, of the swoosh, and if you have little gaps in the paint, you just probably don't have enough paint. You want to really load up to make that first dot, or you can also just dip your tool into the paint before you do that, before you pull it down. That'll help too. Oops. What I'm going to do here, I noticed that this one being the first one is a little thinner. Its tail is a little bit thinner than some of the other ones. So I'm just adding a little extra paint there to make it a little fatter. Okay. All right. So we should be like this now. I'm going to wipe off my tools now. Now I'm going to pick up my 0.5 again. Now this is, oh, actually, you know what? Do we want to go on 1? Nah. Okay. Now, in this case, I'm going to use my 0.5 here, but because this is also a 0.5 tip that we were just using the swooshes with, feel free to use that too. I don't know why. I just kind of use them interchangeably when it comes to the dots. I like the feel of the Happy Dotting Company ones in my hands. for the dots themselves. And I like these ones more for the swooshes, even though, you know, 0.5 is going to be almost the same. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do for this one, I'm not sure how I'm going to explain this. Let me do one of these here first. I'm going to take a set of dots and we're going to bring it around the swoosh. Okay. But we're going to leave like this little flare at the top. Okay. So the first dot that I'm going to make is just on the diagonal about here. Oops. Out of paint. Okay. So the second dot, I'm probably coming at the midsection of this one. And then I'm just doing a walk all the way down. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'm just bringing the dot a little bit up and to the right or left. So the easiest way to think about it is look at the midsection where you brought the swoosh down and then kind of do a diagonal here. Okay. That one's kind of hard to see. I'll continue on this side, it might be easier. Okay. So as you can see here, it kind of forms this almost a little oval, but they don't touch. Flip this one upside down here. And then what I'm going to do here is just take a 2, and then we're going to do just a small walk right in between. Just like that. All right, so now I have that one. Now I'm going to switch again for the next. Okay, I'm going to let this one dry. Okay, now what I'll do here, let's see, probably around this area. Okay, this one is going to be full of swooshes. The next two are actually this one and the next one. but two different kinds, okay? So I'm gonna tip the glass. At this point, it should be dry enough that none of the paint is falling off. Okay, so I'm just gonna tip it just slightly so it's off to the side here. I'm gonna take a 2, and let's see, make sure I have this kind of spaced out relatively okay. Right, and I'm just gonna put a dot there. Just make sure that you have a good amount of room in between. Doesn't really matter where that one goes. Then we're gonna pick up the 4. Okay. This is gonna be another one of those that it's gonna be nice if you happen to have a grid here so that you kind of keep them even, but you don't need to. Okay, so the first I'm going to take a 4 and we're going to pull a dot out, oh, I don't know, somewhere about here-ish. Okay, now we're going to do something a little bit different, but let's start with the normal swoosh. Okay. So again, I'm going to drag from here down to this dot, midline, and bring it to the point. And then color that in. Now, instead of leaving it like this, what we're going to do is we're going to grab that same midpoint here, and I'm going to bring it up to a triangle, and then fill that little tiny tip in. Okay. So you should have something that looks like that. I'm going to do that same thing on the other side here. Pull it out, side and down. Okay, fill that in. And then just bring that to a point. We're going to do another set. I want to try to get that a little long. We're going to do one on north and south and try that again. Okay, now we're going to do another set of them, but this one is going to be a little farther in. Okay, so we're going to bring that around this bottom here. So that should fit kind of squished in there nicely. We're going to do the same. And these absolutely, again, they don't have to be symmetrical, right? So if you're not using a grid and they're not exactly all lined up perfectly, it's fine. Kind of adds to the charm. Okay, so we're just tucking these in. Oops, it's kind of an awkward angle here. Now, if you do want to get a little bit more detailed, a little more on these, you certainly can. I would say maybe put some dots in between here. Go ahead and stretch it out a little bit farther. You can do another row of these, just kind of keeping them all the same and simple. Okay. All right, so there's that one. Okay, so we've got 3 done so far. Okay, now we're gonna do the switcheroo again. So I can let that one dry. But essentially all of these that we're doing, I'm gonna have both glasses with the same designs. Okay, so they're not just gonna be just these 2. All right, so let's pull this one to the side. Let's do the same thing. I am gonna move this one up a little bit, somewhere around here-ish, I guess. Okay, we're gonna use the same, oops, upside down, to center. We're gonna start with the 4 again. So a lot of these you're seeing as a distinct pattern, I'm sure. Okay. Oops. We're gonna start just with the swoosh though this time. We're not gonna go with the triangular top, but I am making this, as you can see, quite long. Now with this one being quite long, you might need to just go ahead and dip the tool into the paint, start from the middle of the dot, and then pull it back down. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I kind of had this one tilted a little bit to the left. So I'm going to make this one offset instead of just being straight down. We're getting another 2 nice long ones out to the side. Now we're going to change sizes. I'm going to go down to a 3. We're going to get some more swooshes in here. Again, these are simple. Okay, so now for the 3, I'm going to bring that in the center, just a little bit lower than the other ones. But same thing. And if you have them kind of at an odd length, just try to get it somewhat centered. Even if one is really longer than the other one, like this one ended up being a little shorter than even this one. So when I put this one down, you can kind of see that there's this big gap. It's shorter this way than it is length this way, but just kind of imagine an arc between the midline points and put that there. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to go down again to a 2. And we're going to get another set in, and you guessed it, we're just going to go down. Right, so we're going to fit that in between here. Now you're just going to fill in all those little spaces. Like I said, feel free to change these up, add some color, do some different designs. Like I said, I just really decided to make these super simple. I mean, if this is something that you guys want to do with your kids or grandkids, somebody that's never painted before, I thought this would be easy enough. Oh, we've got that one. All right, so now I'm going to switch again here. So one of the reasons I also wanted to do 2 at one time, just so you have the opportunity to switch back and forth. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add, for example, these two patterns to the other one and those two to this one, right? I think you get my meaning here. They're all going to have all of these patterns in there, okay? But what I'm going to do for now, at least just to kind of show you what I'm planning. So the next thing is getting a little tiny bit of accent color in there. Now, for me, I'm adding zinc. I would probably think any other kind of silver or pearl or, I mean, even light blue, some kind of a metallic, anything, right? A nice little accent color. Again, I'm putting in just the smallest little drop of the glass medium. Now we're going to do just a couple of little, what do you want to say? Extra little flourishes, lack of a better word. Okay. So for example, I'm just going to take a 3 in the space that I have up here. If I were you, if you are going to use these glasses as intended for a drink, do not put anything within that top rim here, okay? You don't want your mouth touching paint. I know that we've put the glass medium in there, and I know that we're going to be finishing these. Doesn't matter. You don't want paint in your mouth. You don't want it to flake or anything. So just avoid, like for example, at least that first line of your finger. Just don't put anything up there. Okay. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And then let's see. I'm going to go into my larger little nail art tool. This is a 3. Something like that. Okay, do a couple of those around your glass. The other thing that I did on mine, so I'm going to use that 3, and I'm just going to do a set of 3 dots. The other thing that I did, let's turn this just a little bit, was do just kind of a random little spattering, right? These are just little things that you can add. Let's see. Okay, just like a little random circle, whatever, of dots. Okay, so you just have something in here. And then I am actually going to put this same pattern here on the foot. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, let's see. See if I can maybe move things around a little bit so I can show you that. I'll move my camera just slightly. Should be decent. Okay. Maybe. Eh. Okay, that's the 8. And the 2. This I know is much more difficult than doing it on the round of the glass. Yeah, I'd love to try to hold it up. Let's see. Let's try this again. Yeah, nah. Yeah, unfortunately, can't quite get it lifted up high enough, so I'll get this done. Okay, again, this is a 4. Now on this, I know that the whole thing is not going to fit. So I'm just going to try to get my dots in a place where I know I'm going to have as much space as possible to do the little swooshes. And the ones that quote unquote fall off on the bottom, that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put the dots here. Okay, like that. Like this one falls off. This one actually looks a little small. I'm going to try to... There. Okay. All right, and again, we're going to go back in with the 2 to try to make the double dots on top. You basically just do the ones that you can. The more complete your pattern is, the better it looks. So sometimes we kind of have to go back and fake some lines, right? Pretend we did the whole pattern when we didn't or couldn't. Ooh, that was tough. Okay, and then I won't be able to put anything at the bottom here. So let's see what I can actually do. Again, I'm going to pick up the 0.5. Oops. Okay. This one is very awkward and odd. If I wasn't recording it, I would just have this in my lap, honestly. For these ones, I'm just going to pretend I know that there would be a dot here. So I'm going to bring that all the way from the edge. As far around as I can. Gonna go all the way almost to the bottom of the foot. Okay, and bring that around. There. Now we've got the 3. This kind of partially goes up the stem. There. That turned out better than I thought it would be, and as awkward as that was. And then I'm going to add some of these other little touches here. So let's do, this is a 4, let's see. And then I'm just going to pull this. I'm keeping in contact with the glass too. Maybe we'll do a set of 3. Okay, let me take that and do maybe just some of the little random pattern over here somewhere. So that part being done. Okay. Okay, so now that we've got all of that done, now I am actually going to be filling in the other edges. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put this one aside, and I'm going to go back to my other one. Okay. Now, like I said, at this point, I actually just need to fill this one up with the other 2 patterns and vice versa. I don't know that I'll necessarily have you guys hang around for all of that, but I did at least want to talk about getting these finished. How in the world do you actually do that? Okay, so again, I added the glass medium. The glass medium alters things just ever so slightly, okay? If you use the glass medium, you could be done. Great. There is absolutely nothing additional that you have to do here. I would give it some time. I would give it as many as 21 days, right? Just to cure on its own, to air dry. If you do that, then they are still washable. I would never, ever, ever soak one of these glasses in water with soap, hot water with soap, or really hot water for that matter. Okay, never soak them. However, after the 21 days, you can wash them. Use them like a normal cup. That's perfectly fine. Just go ahead and wash it. If you don't use the glass medium, or even if you have, Your next step is going to be oven curing if you wish to, okay? This is not mandatory. How do you oven cure it? There are a couple things that you need to be very, very careful of. The first thing is when you oven cure, with your oven empty, okay, put your glasses on like a cookie sheet, for example, or something like that, and covered with parchment paper. Put the glass with its bottom up, right? So don't try to tip them upside down. Okay, you want the air opening. You want this up at the top. Okay, so sit them in. Especially for the stemmed glass, make 100% sure that you have enough height in your oven so that it's not going to touch anything, obviously, right? And make sure they're standing up and they're not touching anything else. If you've made more than 2, like I have 4, you can put them all in the oven at the same time. That's perfectly fine. Okay, but put them on a cookie sheet with parchment paper with the holes facing up in a cold oven. Let me say that again. Cold oven. Okay, do not turn it on at this point in time yet. All right, once they're in, then turn your oven on. Okay, pretty standard is going to be at 350, right? 350 for 30 minutes. That's the same as if you're using the glass medium. Okay, turn your oven on and let it preheat. Now the preheat is going to be different on everybody's oven. For example, my large oven is 20 minutes. I do also have a little toaster oven that I've used for these, which is fine, which comes out great, but that toaster oven is like 5 minutes, okay? Let the glasses sit in the oven through that preheat cycle. Okay, don't do anything. Leave it there for the preheat cycle. When the preheat is done, okay, so my large oven will sound a little beep, right, when the preheat is done. At that moment in time, set your timer. So in my example, just 30 minutes, right? Sometimes you can do longer than that. But for example, we're going to have it at 350 degrees. It's gone through the preheat of 20 minutes. My oven beeped. Now I'm going to set a 30-minute timer. Let the 30-minute timer go. Okay. When the 30-minute time has elapsed, turn your oven off. Don't touch the door. Don't even think about moving or touching anything. Leave it in there until your oven is completely cold. All right. So what I typically do is I do these at night, right? Especially now, weather's cooling down. Okay. I will go ahead and put these in at night and leave them. The only thing that I do is when my timer goes off, I'll turn on the oven light and kind of take a peek through the door and just make sure that everything looks intact, right? That I don't see any obvious cracks. Because the problem that you run into, and one of the other reasons that when you pick out your glasses, you want to make sure that you do your best to find some without any imperfections, is because it could potentially crack, right? I have yet to have any problem, knock on wood, thank God, right? I've never had a glass explode or crack, but I know it is possible. So just be careful, okay? And again, that's one of the reasons you don't open your oven after the preheat is done. That whoosh of cold air from if you open the door after it's done, that could crack some. Okay, so just leave it alone. Like I said, I do this at night and then I go to bed. Next thing, first thing in the morning, my oven is ice cold and then I can take them out. Okay. Oh, you know what? One thing I should mention before even that. Once your paint has dried, make sure that this paint has been dried for at least 24 hours. Don't go stick this in your oven today. I know it's really tempting to as well, but I probably would not. I let mine sit for 24 hours, if not longer. Okay. Let your paint dry for 24 hours and then give it a good wipe, right? So use a nice, soft, clean cloth. I love using those ones for eyeglasses, right? And clean this off. Make sure that you don't have any fingerprints on there, nothing else is on there. Okay. If you decide at that point as well that you don't like the design, don't worry, because if it hasn't gone in the oven yet and it hasn't surpassed that 21 days, at that point, soak it in hot water, hot soapy water, and just wipe it off and start over. Easy, right? But that's it. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Certainly do appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and paint these little accents. I do them in this color. The other thing that I'm going to do, and I could actually do that now. Let's see. Yeah, these are dry enough now. Okay, always make sure if you want to do top dots that it is dry. I'm going to take a 3 here. And I'm just going to go and make a dot on the bottom of these. For me personally, I didn't go overboard with the accents this time. I usually like my metallics. I kind of put top dots on a lot of pieces and parts, but not these. Not these ones. I did make the center of my 2 shapes, this shape and the other one. Oops, this is much too big. My silver. Okay, that's basically that. You can kind of play around, have some fun, do whatever you want to do. Okay, now, last but very not least, once these have been cured, all right, either you've oven cured them, you've glass medium and or oven cured them, or you've waited the 21 days. Okay, there's your 3 methods to make sure that they're set. After that time has passed, either option 1, use them as drinking glasses. Perfectly fine. Gift them, keep them, whatever you want to do. They'll work beautifully. Okay. If you don't, just like I did with these for the photo. I mean, I know it's not Christmassy. I'm sorry I didn't have anything out at the time that I did these. But for example, like this one, I just put a rose in there. Right. So what you can do is turn these into a centerpiece. Okay. Take, if you want to go the dollar store route, you can take and fill the bottom with those little glass accents, right? Those little glass beads or marbles. You can actually fill this with water, right? Up to, I don't know, about here, a 1/3, something like that. And put floating candles in there, right? Or a floating candle. You can just put tea light in here on top of, say, those little accent beads or the marbles. You can also put just a standard candle in, the little short squat ones, right? The little fat ones. Those also look really nice in these. You can put them right down at the bottom, okay, but you can put kind of whatever you want inside. Any kind of bead or marble or whatever, any kind of accent thing or water, okay. They also do have those, I think they're $3 trays, the wooden trays. I've actually seen some people have some beautiful setups with these. What you can do is take a tray. You can get some of the little wooden Christmas trees. They have little figurines. They have little houses. Build yourself a little scene, you know, in the bottom of the tray, and sit these in the center, right? You can also put those Christmas trees in the center here with some fake snow. That looked absolutely gorgeous. Okay. I actually did not make these with the intent that they be turned over. However, I'm sure if you're on Facebook, you've seen the ones where they'll basically take the stemmed glasses and flip it over and put the candle on the foot. You could do that too. I didn't necessarily make mine with that intent, but because they're just snowflakes, right? There isn't a right way up. You could potentially do that too if you like that. All right, but have fun. I would absolutely love to see what you guys come up with. There are so many different variations of this. Have fun with your snowflakes. I'm sure, you know, if you're a little bit more advanced, I'm sure you've got some other patterns for snowflakes. So I'd like to catch those. But thank you guys ever so much for stopping by today. If you do like what we've done today, give it a like. Make sure you're subscribed if you do want to see a little bit more. Now that my season is over for shows, I really do want to get back into some of the other stuff. So you'll be seeing that coming up. I don't know if anyone out there has any interest for gifting, because I know that you're probably making these, but I do have a Black Friday sale going on right now, deal 23 at Ko-fi or Coffee. You can see the link either in chat or down below. Everything is 24% off. I just want to get rid of some of the stock that I have for my 2024 season, and so we can start fresh and new in January. But again, check out the link for the Facebook group or Discord below and show me what you got. Show me what you guys came up with. I certainly want to see pictures. All right. Again, thanks so much for hanging out with me. You guys take care. Have a fantastic holiday season and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.